Hello, everybody. My name is Christian. I'm the host of the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur show. And you guys gonna love today's guest. And you're gonna say, oh, Christian, you say this at every episode. But today, I actually met a American version of me because everything he talked about, I went through. Everything he does, I went through. I said, I hate him actually a little bit. And you guys gonna meet him right after this. Hello again. My name is Christian. I'm the host of the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur show. And I said, you guys going to love today's guest because he's the American version of me. And the reason I said I hate him is because he got out of this earlier than I did. And he realized there's more to cooking than as I did. But you guys going to love today's guest for three reasons. Number one, he has this amazing story where he talks about there's a lie you're being fed in this industry. And the lie is really simple that you have to grind really hard, and the harder you grind, the more value you bring. And we talk about this a little bit later. He also talks about that he was on the top 1% of the industry being a high achieving chef and the pressure that brought with him or with it. And he talks about burnout and all the other amazing things, what is going on in our industry. And for me, there's three things I absolutely love about him. And our audience knows we have what we call the ethical stocking. We need a better name. But for me, I love his message. It's not just very clear. It comes from within. I absolutely love that about him. The second thing is he's very clear when he talks about what's going on. And I think you guys are going to love that also about him. And then my final thing I love about it is he's an amazing human being. And from there, I want to call today's episode From Burnout to Alignment, because if you lead without losing yourself, you won. And with that, I want to come and welcome Chef Dan. How are you? And welcome to the show.
I'm awesome. How are you doing today?
Good. So full transparency to our listeners, we had a little bit of chat. We usually just chat 5 minutes before the show, but we chatted for 20 minutes because I love him so much. But before we get started, Dan, tell us, how did this whole thing start? You, an above average good looking guy. Why did you get into food? You could have done so many other things. So why food, and how did it all start for you?
Well, I was actually in college. I was pre-med, and I did 5 years. I was a medic in the Air Force before that. Mm-hmm. And, I got to my fifth year, and I was severely dyslexic. Mm-hmm. So I got to my fifth year. I was doing genetics and all these other classes, biochemistry. I aced all that stuff. But English and history, I got to the fifth year, and I hadn't even finished English 1 or History 1. Because of the reading required.
Yeah.
I could read the text when it was talking about, chemicals and mathematics and genetics. And, I was doing research in University of Houston. I was down in the basement all by myself, and I was doing gene sequencing on chlorophyll. And I was down there, and I was like, I don't want to do this the rest of my life. I want to cook, because I'd always wanted to be a chef when I was a kid. I had those little books. Actually, I have them right behind me. My mom's book she got from the Travel and Salesman, the Grand Diplomat. And, I wanted to be that guy with the big hat. And, my parents said, you can't make money at that. So I was going to college. And so I was like, screw that. And I started cooking. I actually started at community college in Houston. And then there was a master chef that came to one of the country clubs there. And, I wanted to cook. So I went over and I interviewed, got no answer. And I called back and I was like, hey, chef, how's it going? Do you have an opening yet? And it was like, no. Well, I kept doing that over and over and over for a couple of weeks. And finally, he told me, yeah, Danny, just come in. And my first day I went and showed up, it was 17 hours. And it was like, I was like, this sucks, but this is awesome. Because it was, it was very brutal and very demanding. And just that first day, it just set the tone. It's like, I grew up being abused, and I was like, this feels like home.
Yeah.
And that's sad, but it's sad, but funny.
Yeah. And that's what I love about you. I'm also 1 year pre-med. Okay. I wanted to be a neuroscientist. That was my thing. And I will never forget this. I had this 57-year-old guy we had to cut, an incision. And I practiced on melons and all that stuff. You know what you practice on.
Right.
I got this. Yeah, I passed out and they said, go into chiropractic. And I was like, maybe that's not for me. But you know what? There's so many things you talk about. And I want our audience to kind of look you up because for me, Dan, you were crushing it professionally, but you were burning out in from a personal side. So, and then you talk about that you hit rock bottom and that every moment you were there, it was teaching you something and it reshaped who you are today and how not just how the way you look at leadership, how this whole industry kind of comes together. So talk to us a little bit. What was this like and what did you learn about leadership?
Well, I mean, that turning point was I went to my best friend's wedding. And I came back and I showed my wife the pictures, and I saw myself at 300 pounds, and I was like mortified. I was like, how'd I get there? I didn't recognize myself. You know, I figured out that I wasn't leading, I was surviving. And for decades I chased the titles, the certifications, and the hours, worked the long hours. And I was in this loop. And, I later figured out what it was. It was identity trap. I was always trying to prove myself because I wasn't accepted. I was rejected. And it all went back to, I was like, I got to do something about this. So on January 1st, I was listening to David Goggins, and he's talking about doing something, signing up for something you can't do. And I signed up for a Spartan race at 54 years old and lost 70 pounds and ran my first one.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That's awesome. So for me, so many things you talk about, I see myself in it. But for me, let's get back to that moment where you said, "Hey, I needed to do something." What were some of the signs you ignored before all of that fell apart? And where did you feel you had to kind of push through and tune in?
Well, it goes back to, we always say we work from our values. And so many of us say, my value is my family. But if you look at our calendar, that's not true. We're lying to ourselves and we're lying to them because we say they're important, but we're not home. We miss all the important things. I can't go here because I have a banquet. I've got this and I've got that. And you get to the point where it's like you have to actually decide what your values are. And, for me, it was, I valued pushing hard. My results was the outcome I was looking for. And, I heard Les Brown say, you have to separate who you are from what you do. And that was like life-changing. So I heard that when I was losing the weight, and it was like that flash of the moment. My recognition, my persona was tied up into the results I produced. If I didn't produce, I wasn't a good person. And that drives a lot of us. It's like my work is myself. And when they criticize my work, I was trying to be a certified master chef. But the problem I went into is I would cook, and I could cook. I could do it. But I couldn't hold myself together because as soon as I was criticized, I fell apart. And I started reacting like a 6-year-old. And, it goes back to, it's hard to react in a positive way if you've never learned that you are doing it like that. You have to train yourself to learn how to respond and not take criticism personal. And, that's what broke me. That was the hardest part.
I love that. But, that's not an easy thing because when people go in our industry, they're doing it for not just for the recognition of their dishes, for the recognition of themselves. And 90% of my chef friends are in the same boat because I know exactly how to push them, for them not to come to a certain event because they will work on the dish to make it perfect because I just made a joke. And then there's some other ones which didn't talk to me for 3 weeks. But that is collectively who we are as an organization. And for me, my biggest thing is, I always, all the names you mentioned, I absolutely love. And I always tell the story. We went to New York City because we were supposed to see Tony Robbins. Okay. I saved up, got tickets, Marv, and I went. Every traffic, I was just whatever could go wrong on the drive-in. We go in. We go in, and I didn't pay attention. I go to the guy. Oh, we 40 minutes late, and the guy says, "Oh, don't care. Come with me." He brings us all the way to the front, and I was like, "This is gonna be amazing." I look on the stage. I was like, "Who the hell is that guy? I don't even know him." It's probably somebody warming up the crowd. I went to Wayne Dyer. Okay, I went in the wrong building. So Wayne Dyer says, "Oh, what is your name?" I said, "I'm Christian." He says, "Oh, we're all Christian here. Come up here. And then now turn around and here's your 11,000 friends and tell them all why you're 40 minutes late." I wanted to die. I was like, I was like, so I on purpose didn't want to say I went to the wrong thing. Okay. He says, "I'll sit up front here." I said to my wife, at the next break, we are fucking out of here. Okay. And the break comes, he comes up and he says, "Thanks for letting make fun of me." He says, "Why are you here?" And I was like, "For transparency, I wanted to go to Tony Robbins." And so he says, "Oh, it's really simple, Christian. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change." And I was like, okay, whatever. I drive home and in my mind, I was like, the fuck did he say to me? And it was a 3-day event. And I said, I'm never coming back. The next day I went back to see Wayne Dyer. But it became my life thing. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I had lunch with him the next day and I says, "I still don't understand what it means." And he says, "Oh, it's actually simple. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear and you will learn." He never told me what it meant, And for me, the last day he said something which I still use today. And he was saying, we all are the combined average of the people which raised us, the experiences I had, and what I perceive the world to be. And I get goosebumps when I think about it. And I was like, oh, what the hell does he talk about? And then I was lying at home and I was lying there, what the hell? I mean, I didn't want to say that he was right, to myself, because, it was, I go, and I was like, why? I know he's right, but it makes no sense. I'm better than that, Now I'm sitting here, 30 years later and telling you, I'm the combined average of the people I met, the people which raised me, and the experience I had. And for me, I followed him and I followed self-help overall. And, you talked about, Mr. West, which is absolutely amazing. And there's so many great people out there. And what I learned from him was that in order for things to get better, you need to get better. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm top 1% of my industry. But for me, all of that just makes so much sense. And when I hear you talking about that, you were in this to collect credentials and you were chasing every title. But when did you know that the person you were underneath, that I wasn't really jiving with you? So talk to us a little bit about the danger of becoming your role instead your value.
Right. I mean, if you roll up your like I did, my results were my life because of my values. I never wrote them down. I talk a lot about self-authorship. It's like you have to write it down. You have to get it out of your head, because inside your head, you're biased and you believe it. You believe your lies. But when you put them on paper, it's different. Like the first thing I start with people is write your values down. And a lot of people, they'll go like this. I give them a list of 100 values with definitions. And people are like, wow, I didn't realize that, your family's not a value. Your values, you use them with your family.
Yeah.
Because your family is important. So I have them whittle it down to 10. And then I say, okay, and this is the same thing Steve Jobs did to his at his retreats. He would have everybody together and would fight, and then they would write down 10 of the most important things they need to get done. He would take 7 of them and scratch them off. And that's what I have them do. He goes, because you can't concentrate and do 10 things great. You can do them good. But now you take the top 3, that's what you focus on. And there's a number 1 that you focus on, and that's the ultimate thing. It's you go back, I go back to, and I use this a lot, will it make the boat go faster? In 1999, Ben Hunt Davis on the British rowing team, they kept losing.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a silver medal. And they're like, because they were trying to beat the other team. They were in competition with everybody else. And what he did is he came up with the slogan, will it make the boat go faster? So they go, we're going to go to the pub tonight. They're like, will it make the boat go faster? It's like, no. Are we going to do this hard leg workout? And it's like, yeah, because it will make the boat go faster. That year in 2000 in Sydney, they beat the Australians, the Americans, they beat everybody. They got first place because they focused on themselves instead of everybody else. They changed the outcome because they worked on themselves, which we as chefs, as culinarians, as food and service, we don't spend enough time. They give us money to go to these classes for the betterment of the company, to learn these techniques and all this, but they never allow, or we don't come up with and ask, can I take a self-help course? Because then you're not helping the company, but you are. If you work on yourself, you help everybody around you. Because when you pour into yourself, you're able to pour into everybody else. You give everybody else the quarter that you didn't allow. I never allowed myself quarter. And I would allow other people now because I see them. I empathize. That's one of my superpowers is empathy now. But that was the one thing I rejected my whole life for 54 years was empathy for anybody else. It's like, suck it up, buttercup. Got to
get it done. Just get it done. And that's what I love about you, because I want to have that honest conversation with you, because I think fundamentally our industry is built upon don't show no weakness. Don't, listen to anybody else. Figure it out yourself. If you need to stay late, fucking stay late. You need to figure it out. Don't ask for help. You need to do it all by yourself, which is absolutely wrong, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. We can't do it ourselves. There's a reason it's called a team. And a team is not made up of individuals that are lone wolves. They are made up of everybody holding everybody else. The SEALs, they don't leave people behind. They help everybody. Everybody is intertwined. When you have a whole bunch of high performers that don't compartmentalize with others, they're in their own little silo. That's where we have issues.
Yeah.
It's, our problems in the industry, in every industry, are decisions that everybody makes. If I'm the head leader and I have other leaders that are making decisions based on the identity that they are stuck in, instead of helping them create an identity that their deliberate core values are in and tie those with the company, then every time they make a decision, they don't end up in HR, or they don't cost me money, or they don't cost us a reputation.
Yeah.
They make decisions based on what the values are for everybody, not themselves.
Yeah. Love that. I love that. And, when you talk about it, there's this South African proverb, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with a team. And for me, it's just, even now, I have a really good friend of mine who sadly passed away, but amazingly good at. He had a team of 60 people working for him. If you didn't work the way he worked, he didn't invest in you. And I always said, why do you do this? This guy is a morning cook. You can't expect him to perform the way you do. And times are changing. He had this one person who had so many tattoos that they asked him to wear only long sleeve shirts, and he had, the nose thing and everything else. But he was amazingly good in what he did. And he said, it's not the way I was brought up. And this is not the way our industry, I don't want our industry to go that way. I like the white coats. I don't like black coats. And that's how he was. And for me, I always say, can you imagine if he would have had invested into people, if he would have poured into people and let him succeed, all of the amazing things he would have had done and his legacy would have had stayed. For me, he was one of the people which I always looked after, because when I needed something, he was the guy which kind of got it done. And for me, seeing and hearing all of that, it was it was hard for me. And I constantly went to him. I was like, don't, no, 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 let them into your world. And he says, they don't deserve to be in my world because he didn't put in the work. But that's the industry. And I hear this so often. That's why we have create written on here, because we're creating conversation. And I honestly feel that anybody in the industry, they need to know about you. What are you teaching them and your philosophy? Because that's the way of moving forward. Because this is not, what my friend went to. This is not the way you grow an industry and the way you move forward. And for me, that's what I so absolutely love about your teachings. When you talk about, hey, help leaders build better communities, have leaders help other people. For me, you talk a lot about this. And your coaching method, you talk about self-awareness, story reframing, sustainable action. This is all strange words for anybody in this, because nobody talks about this. And it's still looked upon that it's weakness if you talk about that. So how do you get somebody to think differently?
Man, that's a hard one. You have to first accept that you're not everything you could be.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us think we're all that in a bag of chips. And we're not. We think we're great. I mean, I know a lot of chefs, they're very arrogant, me. They're very assholish, me. All these things, it's like you couldn't criticize me. It's like, this is a perfect food. But was it? We hit our potential, they say. But the thing about potential, as soon as you reach your potential, you have more available.
Mm-hmm.
And you have more available. You're never as good as you think you are. And you are great inside your head. But on the plate, you might be okay. But you believe the lie you told yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You got to step out of that. And once you can get someone realize, it's like, I applied for a job and I was perfect for it. I was qualified. I was better qualified than them. There were other people that were applying for it. But why didn't I get it? It's because the person that showed up in the room for the interview was not you. It was an identity trap you were in.
Yeah.
You weren't your true self. You were worried about what they were thinking about you. You were worried about if you were going to be accepted. You were worried about this. You're worried about that. You weren't worried about being authentic. And once you can become authentic, people recognize that. That's called confidence. You walk into the room and you change the temperature. You're no longer a thermometer, you're a thermostat. And when you can become that, that's when you become your core identity. You can set your limits. Like you were talking about earlier, you try to push the people you work with to become better. It's like, okay, you're a chef here. You're stuck at $80,000 a year. That's all we're ever going to pay you. You may work, 3% up, but what if you could double that in a couple of years? I've seen chefs where they start working on themselves and they go from that small club to a bigger club to a club that has multiple outlets and just keeps growing and growing, and they keep constantly evolving. They iterate. Iteration is the key to becoming better. We're never as good as we think we are. We can always be better. And that's, until people recognize and admit it, I can't help them. But once they do that, I give them a path of unlimited potential.
Yeah.
There's no more ceilings.
Mm-hmm. I love that, and I have to chuckle because thank God happened only to you, not to me. Okay. Because half of the things you say, I was like, oh shit, is he talking about me? Because I think that's just the industry. And for me, I always use the example for me. Jim Rohn talks a lot about this. You can make $10 an hour, or you can bring more value to the marketplace. If you bring more value to the marketplace, you get paid more. I was like, no, this is not. Doesn't exist. The industry, this is the thing, until I realized there's people which make 40,000 as chefs, and there's a famous chef. He's from England, and he curses a lot. Makes 400 million. How dare he make 400 million? Because there's the gap. But it's so true, and we gotta get caught in that loop. And for me, I like I said, I just love the message you have on the marketplace. So, but before we can you talk to people? There's this book behind you. Can you talk to us a little bit? Who wrote that book, and what is that book about?
That's my book. I wrote it. I wrote it being dyslexic. You talk about something that's hard,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a fear, and I got over it. But the book is 6 steps every leader must make to step into a life of success, and it goes into you have to define your values first before you can define your success.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's not valuable for you, then and you keep doing it, that's what they call burnout.
Yeah.
You're doing something you don't want to be doing, but you think you have to do. You have a bill to pay, you have family to support, you have all this stuff. And one of the biggest things that I did, I should have been working on my 401 right now. I was making great money. I should have been putting money away, investing in the S&P, but I decided to invest in the S and me because that's going to be the ROI that's not going to lead to regret later. And the whole point of the book is there's more to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the way to get it. It talks about getting conviction, because until we're convicted of what we're doing is right, we won't do it.
Yeah.
We were distracted. We have our coping mechanisms. Distractions are great. Coping mechanisms are great until they stop working in your favor. And the whole point of the book is it goes through 6 steps of how to get to it. It's a framework. It's completely in there. There's worksheets. And I just want to help people where I was stuck, successful. And so the more successful you get in that, the more stuck you become and the harder it is to get above that. But once you get past that breaking point and admit you suck, then you can do something about it. And, that's it. It's, you write a book that's a year old. And since then, I've evolved and iterated and worked it down to the identity. I don't talk about identity in the book very much, but now I figured it out and worked it down to where my program has the identity as the core, and it uses the 6 steps.
I absolutely love that. And, you and I talked before the show. I feel every chef needs to write a book, because a book does 3 things to you. It gets you in a room you normally couldn't get into. A book will expose who you are, and a book will give you opportunities nothing else can. And it's not about the book. It's who you're becoming writing the book. Because for me, that's the greatest thing. And when we work with our authors, we constantly, you and I just talked about somebody who is publishing a book this weekend. She's 76 years old. And she said to me as we started this, Christian, don't even think bring me on some bullshit thing. Okay. I don't want that. What she said to me yesterday is, I want to have a podcast. I was like, 100 days ago, you said bullshit thing. Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I love it. And she's amazingly good in front of the camera. And when she explains things, I said to her, oh, actually, don't change the book. Do a second version of it, because they should be in the book. That needs to be in the book. She said, I know. I want to edit. No, don't edit. But she's amazingly good at it. And a book, I think, is the single best way for people to find more out about themselves and what they're made of. And for me, congratulations in doing that. So I want to ask you, are you up for playing something called Rapid Fire Question Food Service Edition? But before we do this, I have 2 full questions. First off, tell our audience a little bit more where they can learn more about you. And then I'm curious to know, what is Chef Dan working on, Dan, over the next few months until the end of the year? And what are you working on your business till the end of the year?
Okay, well, let's see. What was the
Dude, first is what are you working on versus what are you working on in your business, and then tell everybody how they can learn more about you.
Well, the main thing I'm working on right now is actually my health. Because when I was, the 300 pounds, I was taking all these medications and all this, because the health industry is going to not make you better. They're going to make you dependent. And I'm totally off all my medications. I work on, I've got a garden. I grow my own, a lot of my own food, eat organic. So, I try to get in the, another Spartan race. Because I did Spartan race. I said, okay, cool. I lost 70 pounds, but I was still overweight. And I was like, I'm going to lose more weight. And the older you get, the harder it gets to keep in shape. And so now that's working on that. That's me. That's my personal goal.
Love done.
My business goal is, I want to get to, by June of next year, get to 1 million in revenue, and it's not about me. It's not about me making $1 million. It's about me having the resources to focus completely on this, completely on helping people and to reach more people, because ad spend is a lot of money. When you start doing that, and then you're writing another book and you're promoting and you're doing this, it costs a lot of money to run a machine to help people.
Agreed. Totally agreed. And, we talk a lot about this in our podcast, because I never thought we have a full team designated to run this podcast. Okay. I have a marketing person. I have a computer person. I have somebody who snips, somebody who sends out little things. I had no idea, because you know what? You don't want to have an amazing message and be the best known or best kept secret in the industry. And for me, we want to have more people learn about what you do and get your message out there. So how can people learn more about you?
I'm on LinkedIn, Dan Capello. I'm on Instagram and X, The Leader Reset. And, I'm on Facebook, but that's just more personal stuff.
Yeah.
And, you can reach me there. You can get my book.
That's awesome. So we will have in the show notes how to get your book and everything else. And then also for our audience, if you haven't done so, you guys got to check him out on LinkedIn. So that's how we learned about Chef Dan. And he's amazingly responsive there. So for me, LinkedIn is absolutely amazing. And then also, as we started this out, so we did our ethical stalking. So we try to find something wrong. I said, well, hey, you remember in 1991 you said this, and now you're saying something different. And we couldn't find anything. So, but and somebody from my team actually wrote a really nice synopsis about stalking you. I was like, following you for the last 10 weeks, and he felt you were a perfect candidate for our show, and hopefully our listeners get a ton of value out of following you. So with that, I have a little ask of our listeners. So if you heard the last half-hour episode, what connected with you? Where do you feel our industry falls short? And what do you think we collectively need to do to drive the industry forward? So with that, Chef Dan, are you up for playing rapid fire question food service edition?
Always.
So the way it works is we using AI. We just so fancy. So we looking at you. We took all of the information, pumped it into the machine. We have 86 questions, and we said, which of the 86 questions works the best for you? And he gave us 25 of them. So the way it works is I will ask you for a number. I read out the question, and then I have you answer yes or no, or if you have anything else, and why, because we want to know why, because we are in the food service industry. So with that, are you ready to play rapid fire question food service edition?
Yes, sir.
Okay, give me a number between 1 and 25.
4.
4. A dish you secretly love, even if it's considered a lowbrow, would you serve it?
Yes.
And why?
Always. Because it's me. I mean, if I'm going to serve food, it has to represent me. And if it's tacos, and I love tacos, or it's brisket, you can serve it anywhere. You just have to figure out how.
Love it. Okay, give me a number between 1 and 25.
21.
21. Should every menu have a mystery dish option just for shits and giggles? Yes or no, and why?
I don't know. I've never had one. It could be cool, but
Some chefs worry me a little bit. I'm with you. Leave the mystery off. Give me a number between 1 and 25.
12.
12. If a chef says, oh, my food speaks for itself, What does it actually mean?
It's a little arrogant sometimes, I think. If your food's, because not everybody's going to like your food, and not everybody likes you, unfortunately. And some people love your food and they love you. And there's a combination, a sliding scale in between. And why would you risk it?
That's a great question, by the way. Perfect fit for you. And it's so true because hopefully your food doesn't talk to any of your guests because that's considered a health violation. Okay. But for me, it's just let the customers be the customers. Let them have a good time. I always tell my people from the restaurant, we are architects of memories. Okay. We want them to have an amazing time. We want them to have amazing picture. And I want them to go home and say, what an awesome time was it in that restaurant. Don't let the food speak for itself. No. How about no? Okay. Give me a number between 1 and 25.
25.
25. What's the one question operators should ask you, but never ask?
Ask me as what, the customer or the chef?
The chef. But they never ask that.
Man, that's a tough one. What would they never ask?
I can tell you what they never ask.
Do you really think that's good?
That's the best. Give me a number between 1 and 25.
7.
7. Would you cook while wearing pajama just to see if it makes your food taste better? Yes or no, and why?
Hell no.
Why?
A, I might burn something, and B, I don't want people seeing me in my pajamas. Because I don't have pajamas.
I didn't want to go there, but I see where you were hinting. Okay, final number, 1 and 25.
Let's go with 13.
Ooh, 13 is an oldie but goodie. Pineapple on a pizza. Yes or no?
Yes.
There's a whole movement to get the pineapple off. Pineapple has nothing to do on a.
That's people's opinion. That's someone's opinion. That's opinionated.
Oh my god, I love that.
Does squash blossoms belong on a pizza? Pretty damn good on there.
Good point. Good point. So with that completes a rapid fire question food service edition. Chef Dan, thanks for playing out because we're doing this for 2 reasons. Number one, we want the audience to kind of bet against you. Oh, he's definitely going to say no, or he's going to say yes. So I absolutely love that. So last question for you, Dan. If somebody is listening to that show right now, burned out, disconnected, or feeling totally lost in that title, what is one thing you would tell them? Or what is one thing they need to be ready to hear from you directly?
What do you really want? Not what the world wants, not what your parents want, not what the boss wants, not what your coworkers want. What do you want? And that is the direction. That is your North Star.
Mm.
That's it. We're giving lies to what we need to be and need to do. But really, what do you want to do?
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. It's so true. It's so true. And yeah, absolutely amazing. Amazing. So with that, Chef Dan, I want to say thanks for being here and thanks for playing full out and being 100% transparent. And not just that, I just absolutely love what you stand for, how you want to support the industry. And I think we need more people like you. So I want to say thanks for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me. It was great. Really enjoyed it. I appreciate what you're doing for the industry too.
Thank you. And so if to our listeners, if you want to reconnect with Chef Dan, go to dancapello.com. If you feel you need some help around your business, go and check out us, which is christianjfischer.com. So there's one thing I learned today. The most dangerous thing you can lose in your business isn't just the money, it's losing yourself. And I learned this from you today, Dan. I think we hear this so often, and I don't want chefs to be chefs outside of work. I want them to be who they really are. And you really reminded us today that leadership isn't just about becoming who you want to become. It's about becoming the real you. And that's absolutely, I love that about you. And to everybody listen, real alignment isn't soft. It isn't strong. It's clear and non-negotiable. So lead with your heart, show up with purpose. And as always, stay disruptive. So with that, I want to say thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for listening in. We really appreciate you. And Chef Dan, we need to do a 2.0 of that. So with that, thanks for being here. And to our listeners, just go out there and be disruptive, everybody.
Thank you.